about that middle-aged man, as in The Woman in Red, who gets involved in the affair as a kind of adventure. He feels he's in a rut, doesn't he? He has to get out.
Now we're getting to the heart of the matter about, you say, lust and sex, but in this film, I'm shy, timid, hesitant. I've been married for 15 years. I never fool around. I never look twice at another girl, and all of a sudden, it hits. And I don't want to tell the story of the picture, but I feel very strongly from my own experience and from what I've seen in the world, that when it hits that way, that classic way that we hear about, it's not sex that men are looking for. When they have a good woman, children, it's adventure. They want a reaffirmation that they're a man. So they think that they'll find it by conquests. And if husbands and wives or people who are living together can keep alive the romance in their relationship, so that when the egg is running down the corner of your mouth in the morning and the breath isn't quite so good, or there's a little toothpaste on the side of you or whatever, you know, after 2, 3, 4 years of that, you start to think of, well, where's the romance in my life? But couples can keep romance in their lives.
You sound as if you have a book in you.
No.
You're not going to write...
I have a movie in me, but I don't have a book.
You're not going to write an improving tome on how to make marriage work now, are you?
No, but I went through a big conversion in my life. So I decided for $1.50, £1.50, I could share it with this audience.
Was it the love of a good woman that converted you? Or have you just grown in experience and knowledge of women?
It was the love of several good women, but...
You're boasting now, you see?
No. Several can mean more than 2. A couple is 2. 3 is several.
No, several...
3 or more.
No, I'm sorry.
Several.
No. Several is 5 or 6. Or possibly 10 or 20.
All right, have it your way. Several. But Gilda was different in this respect. She said, I'm here for a purpose, and that's to get you to wake up and smell the coffee, not be off in the clouds someplace, listening to Mozart or Jacques Brel, but to be here with me. And when you feel anger or you feel something on your mind, you say so right now, here and now. I'm not a perfect woman that you've been searching for all your life. I'm just little imperfect Gilda. And if that's what you want, a real love, I'm your best bet. And that changed my life.
Had you been suppressing anger and...
Yes, since I was a kid.
But the character you play, that certainly the movie that really launched you, as it were, the producers, that was a character that held in the anger too, and then suddenly would burst out into manic
explosions.
Was that you?
Yes, that was me. It was a part of me. I don't like to do that so much in films, but I don't plan it out that way. If it requires it, then I do it. But that was me. It's like a tea kettle. The water boils, and if there's no little hole in the top, the pot's going to explode. And I used to play characters where it was just about ready to boil, and then you see the explosion.
Do you have, you were talking about suppressing yourself from the time you were a child. Did you have the ability to make people laugh when you were a child?
When I was a little boy, 7 or 8, my mother had a heart attack. And the doctor said, don't ever get angry with your mom because you could kill her. Make her laugh. And that was the first time I remember consciously trying to make someone laugh. And I did. I made her laugh, and my criterion was if I could make her pee in her pants, then I knew I had done something funny. And I'm saying it, I'm not saying it for a joke. It's very true. Because she'd say, now look what you've made me do. But little boys and grown men are confident of what they do in life because of what their mothers told them that they were good at. And when I knew I could make my mother laugh, I felt I could make someone else laugh. And that's all I'm doing now, is carrying on the tradition.
Do you think that you had a naturally amusing face? That you have definitely one of those faces where you don't have to say anything. That it's not a funny face. It's a gentle face, but it's an amusing... I'm really getting into a hole here.
No, I never thought... You know, I have a friend in this film, Charles Grodin, plays the one who does the blind man act and so on. He used to tell me when we were both on unemployment and going to acting school, don't get your heart set on being a movie star because you'll never make it because of your nose. maybe a secondary part or a third, but you won't ever be a leading actor in a film because you don't have the face for it. And I don't want you to be hurt. And that was just before, do you remember Saturday Night and Sunday Morning with Albert Finney? And then Dustin Hoffman in The Graduate.
And Bad Noses came in.
Well, suddenly, because of Look Back in Anger, it was a different thing. People wanted human faces, human beings. Clark Gable, Rock Hudson were wonderful faces. Tyrone Power was my favorite. But then there was a time when people said, I want a face that looks a little bit like me. And that's what I've got. A face that looks a little bit like them.
They look suitably complimented by that. Mel Brooks, I know, is an important influence. There's a season of Mel Brooks going on BBC Two, and they showed Young Frankenstein last week. I had the privilege of having him here as a guest last year. We found him forceful. Is he?
He is. Do you know how some people hide their shyness by being so aggressive, screaming and yelling? I'm not telling you that he's shy, but that's the only way he knows to feel at home, is to be forceful that way. Because if you said, well, just sit and talk about personal things, and then he would be nervous. But if he can grab the microphone or run up into the audience, then he would feel, well, now I'm doing what God meant me to do. And I'll get a laugh, and then I'll feel I've earned my dinner.
And as a director, somebody directing you, did you find him empathic to you, or sympathetic?
Yes. No, he was wonderful. But he was not a big cut-up that's telling jokes all day long. The work was too hard.
You and Marty Feldman worked on Young Frankenstein. Were you a fan of Feldman's? You certainly worked with him very well.
I saw, in I think it was 1970 or 71, a show we had in the States called the Marty Feldman Comedy Machine, which was taken from segments of the shows he had done here.
That's right.
And I said, I don't know who this guy is, but I wish I could get to know him one day. And just at the end of that summer, my agent called up and said, how'd you like to do a movie, you, Marty Feldman, and Peter Boyle? I said, how did you happen to come up with that? He said, because I represent you and Marty and Peter. And I said, well, that's a wonderful artistic basis for a film, but he said, do you have anything? And I had written 2 pages called Young Frankenstein, just a germ of an idea. And I suddenly thought of Marty for Igor, or Igor. And I said, yes, as it happens, I do. And then I spoke with him on an intercom, because in California they all have intercoms in their offices. And we said hello, and then I went out to meet him, and I wrote the part specifically for him. And the same with Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother. I wrote it for him. If he hadn't wanted to do it, I don't know. And I don't think that we could have done Young Frankenstein without him.
Was he difficult to work with? Was he?
Yes, he was a monster, as you know, terrible. And he is, I think, the closest I've met to one of God's angels on this earth. He was the shyest man I've ever met. And as I told you before, shy people are sometimes the most extroverted at certain times. Marty's hand used to tremble like this, and he'd smoke 3 or 4 packs a day of cigarettes. And I hated it to see him smoke that much. But when he wasn't smoking, you'd see the hand going like that. Not because he had any disease. He was just nervous. And yet, when you put him in front of a camera, and he said, now I'm Buster Keaton, who was his idol, he could do anything.
We're back to really where when you interrupted your dissertation on lust. What plans have you got for the future? Have you got anything thrilling in prospect?
To be alone with my wife.
And get out of this studio quickly.
To paint, which I do now. And to start writing Haunted Honeymoon.
That's, since you've only just finished your own honeymoon, is there any significance in that?
You'll have to wait till the movie comes out.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very pleasant to have Gene Wilder as my first guest. My second